Ichimoku's like a bunch of moving averages with some like delays in them or something. Is that how it works?
There's backwards. There's a backwards indicator looking at prior price. There's forward indicators looking at forward at the forward price action, and the moving averages are conceptualized graphically as a cloud. And once the price is above the cloud turns green. Once the price is below the cloud turns red, signifying support or resistance. And the cloud twists, the forward moving aspect of it, the cloud twists in front of the price to give you an idea of when the trend changes. I back tested it after I made mistakes last year in April and May, on changing my spot Bitcoin position. And I back tested it, I looked at it. It would have given you very, very clear signals on what to do. I know that's retrospective, but I also front tested it with all the rebase tokens when I traded those rebase tokens, and I exited those positions in mild profit. I consider that lucky as hell. My friend refused to listen. He, we're good friends. He made fun of me, called it chicken bones. He said it was trash. And he did not exit his positions in those rebase tokens and got killed. I was trading these funds for industrial commodities and agricultural commodities. Very clearly showed a change in trend. I exited those positions in profit, but commodities have taken about a 30% haircut. It's really a simple visual graphical representation. I know you keep asking me the questions, and the other gentleman wants to talk about the big macro picture, but just apply it to everything we talked about.
Yeah, I mean, we can talk Ichimoku. I've never really studied it, but yeah, cool, nice.
I mean, I'm looking at it now. It doesn't look like it did a very good job. I mean, if you look at what it did in this bull market, it got you to sell the bottom back in May 2021. You missed half of the pump. Then it told you to go long.
No, I disagree. I disagree. If you want to go back and look at my Twitter. At my Twitter feed, you can see exactly when Tenkan and Kijun were violated. You can exactly see where they crossed above the cloud. You can exactly see when the price, went below the two indicators. You would have gotten out like between 47 and 55, depending on what time frame you were looking at, and also what settings you use. And if you got out at 55 when Bitcoin was at 63 or 64, that ain't bad.
So I'm looking at the May 2021. This thing didn't go red until we were at the bottom. And then it stayed red until you were back up to 44K. Then it went green. And then it went red again at like 33K. And then it just got chopped. It didn't do that great. I'm looking at the daily time frame on the exact indicator you just showed.
Right.
I don't put too much emphasis on any one indicator.
All I can tell you is I've looked at it for thousands of charts. And it takes some practice. If you haven't looked at it for more than 10 minutes, you may be looking at something in the chart that I'm not looking at. But
yeah, I mean, I don't necessarily think, Harrison, that you're just supposed to sell when the cloud goes red. I think maybe it's a little bit more involved than that.
Correct.
Yeah, but I mean, I don't trade Ichimoku, so it's like a bunch of fucking lines. I mean, a lot of these things, like, obviously, if this thing was just like, look, guys, any indicator that's just a signal that just says buy here, sell here, and it's freely available on TradingView, I can tell you exactly how much alpha there is in that indicator. 0, right? Because if there was any alpha in it, somebody would have, set up a bot and just fucking go, like fucking extract all the alpha, get a bunch of money from a hedge fund, and then the alpha's gone, right? So anything that's going to work is going to either have to be obscure or is going to have to involve judgment. And I suspect with Ichimoku, with all of these different lines all over the fucking place, and I think it basically involves judgment. And then it's hard to backtest. But if it was easy to backtest, there wouldn't be any alpha in it. I mean, this is kind of like the catch-22 of efficient markets. Anything that's going to give you a simple, clean buy-sell signal is probably not going to be right. And anything that's going to be right is going to be it's going to be somewhat hard to backtest, or you're going to have to make some assumptions, or not many people have heard of it, or because that's the only way you can actually have a buy signal that buys when other people don't want to buy, right?
Okay, I pulled it up here. I have the BLX on the 3-day. You could see when the price hit the original high 60 range in April. April 16th, it crossed the Tenkin. It took a dump down to 49. We're all like, whoa, that's normal. There's 10 or 20% corrections of Bitcoin. Then you saw it climb back up above both indicators and get to 58. When it crossed them again, it was at 54. If I was going to exit the market, had I known about this and not listening to Michael Saylor and, To the Moon and all that nonsense, I would have been out at 54. I would have been done.
Is that because the red line and the blue line crossed? Is that the deal?
That's because there was a cross on the 3-day where the Tenkin and the Kijun crossed. Now, the forward-looking indicator is 26 periods. So for a 3-day, it's 26 times 3, which is about 78, I believe. Okay. As you start looking at this and you start looking at the indicator on the 3-day, you can see how few times the cloud has twisted since the beginning of 2020. And if you take it a little bit more high time frame, a week, the weekly is obviously you're not going to catch the initial 10 or 15% of the move, but the weekly, the cloud hadn't shifted. Had you got in July of 2020, September, it crossed above the red, the blue, it rode the blue, and it literally took you all the way to May 3rd to May 7th. You could have taken that entire ride. The cloud twisted from red to green. You could have taken that. So it's sort of an excellent trend indicator. But if you watch the name of the lady, her name is like Pixiu, Pixiu, Pixiu Trades. I think the lady has another job because she works somewhere and she's making these videos. She lives in the Philippines. You can hear a rooster crowing in the background. But the lady is a badass trader and a phenomenal teacher. I just totally never discovered. It's like 3 or 4 hours of videos completely lost in the in the ether.
Yeah, in the ether. Ether, traumatic. It's you can have like a basic moving average cross that'll have got you in July and probably got you out at some point at the top, right? But I don't know. I'm not an Ichi guy, so I'm not gonna go hardcore against it or for it. But yeah, it's appreciated.
Thanks for your question. Journeyman, go ahead, man. You've been waiting.
Hey, Harrison. Thanks for giving me a chance to talk. And yeah, but I just got a question. Sort of, I've just been curious about it. Since kind of like Bitcoin's been around for a while, it's quite a big view that it's like a store of value. I was just wondering, do you think over time we'll be detached from the stock market and go on our own, like especially in this time where we connected with them? Is there like a catalyst for us to detach from them, from the market, and go on our own, like crypto, the crypto market? And another question is, what are your thoughts on DAOs for the future? Like, just the movement of the at the moment I'm in Cult DAO, so like overall, what's your sentiment on the DAOs, the movement of it? But my main question is the Bitcoin one. Thanks, man.
Well,
I'll let Naka go first.
I don't think crypto's ever going to detach from legacy markets. It's never going to happen, right? Look at gold, right? Gold's been around for 5,000 years, and when legacy markets dumped in the COVID crash, guess what happened to gold? Dumped, right? Like, Bitcoin's going to be around for 5,000 years. And in fact, most likely what's going to happen is probably legacy finance is going to become crypto finance. And I know this might sound a little bit kind of out there to you guys, but in the future, probably all finance is going to happen on crypto. And there will be no such thing as boomer finance. It'll all just be crypto. So rather than decoupling from legacy, we're actually going to absorb legacy finance. Big claims there.
I think the one way where I could see us completely decoupling would be if there's such a fear to hold fiat currencies that Bitcoin becomes the safe asset rather than the risky asset. We need that That's a major shift, though. Right now, the dollar is viewed as the safe asset, Bitcoin is the risk asset. In reality, it should be the opposite, right? Because one is algorithmically controlled supply, and one is able to be printed at will. So it's going to take time for people to wake up and smell the coffee, but it's probably going to require multiple fiat currencies to like massively debase. And we're talking about like the yen, the euro, the dollar, the yuan. They all have to see so many people lose value that they're just like, you know what, I don't want to hold fiat anymore. And then it becomes like the safe asset. If that happens, I think you could see a decoupling, but that's probably a few years away at minimum, or at least a couple of years away, right?
I think regulation will be really important for that to happen as well. Once regulation's more clear and people can put money from their 401ks and crypto and all that stuff more easily, there's a better chance of it decoupling. I also agree with what Naka was saying, that I think at some point seeing stocks traded as cryptos, highly likely, right? Like superior technology can run trading 24/7, all that stuff. So yeah, good points from those guys.
As far as the DAO thing, I think DAOs are going to be a huge deal. Obviously, there's definitely some like concerns about securities violations with those. So it's going to take a while for them to become compliant with the SEC. But in terms of the implications where they allow society to collaborate on projects globally without trusting anyone, is pretty awesome. So I think there's a huge amount of potential that's going to come out of it. It's just going to take a few years for the real killer apps to come out, because they've been working on this since literally, I think the first talk about DAOs was when EOS launched in 2018. It's already been 4 years, and there are probably some pretty cool DAOs, but I don't hear anything groundbreaking just yet.
Yeah, I think DAOs are still in their infancy, really, because like I've done a year or two of work in DAOs, and I feel like I don't know how you feel about like having all like decision making go like to the DAO, like go on chain, because like from my personal perspective, I feel like a lot of the times it creates like really inefficient decision making, and like it just ends up really slow governance. So I'm thinking like in the future there might be like that we might see improvements in governance and things like that, and then we might be able to like see DAOs like really take off as like decentralized organizations.
Sorry guys, I'm at work. But yeah, like thank you for your input. Yeah, if you guys get a chance, have a look at Cult DAO. It's quite awesome, I believe. But I appreciate you guys. I'll keep listening. I'll go down now. Thank you. Cheers. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm really curious though, if you guys think that stocks end up like being traded on the blockchain in the future, do you think like the government would make its own blockchain? Would it just go straight to Ethereum? Like how do you see that kind of future play out? Because I haven't really thought about like legacy markets turning into like blockchain tech yet.
I mean, I think there is some chance, and this is why I'm FOMOing about Ethereum so much, because I do think there is some chance that it's basically going to be Ethereum. A significant chance, like say it. Yeah, I mean, it could be CBDCs, but the thing is, a CBDC that's controlled from Washington, Chinese people or Russians are probably not going to, like, especially after what America has done to Russia, with basically like freezing their deposits. Like that's so fucking bullish for crypto. Like that is incredibly bullish. Like that event may have been like the bullish catalyst for crypto that we all kind of like saw and then ignored. CBDCs are dead for intergovernmental cooperation after that happened, and decentralized blockchains like Ethereum, Solana, DOT, AVAX, that's what their selling point is going to be. The selling point is going to be, hey, we can't do this to you. We literally cannot freeze your funds because of some political bullshit. It's there's nobody who can like press the red button and make it stop. So yeah, I mean, very, very bullish. Could be Ethereum, could be all of them, could be Cosmos. Hard to say.
Yeah, thank you for your perspective. That would be nice.
Yeah.
Considering
Anyway,
how
guys.
inefficient legacy markets are.
Yeah, absolutely. Anyway, guys, listen, I'm gonna have to go. It's like ridiculously late here, but it's been a fantastic space. Thanks to Harrison for hosting, and yeah, I mean, hopefully, we can make sense out of this. It is a difficult situation. I'm not gonna lie. I've changed my mind like 5 times or something. But you know, it is what it is, right? Like, what are you paid to do in the market? You're paid to make decisions. If the decisions were easy, the pay would be like nothing, right? I mean, if the pay is big, the decisions better be hard. So,
So
good luck to
Naka, before
everybody.
you go,
Yeah, go ahead.
what's your current positioning in the
It's in my
market?
it's in my profile name at all times.
Are you shitting me?
Sitting
You
cash.
Oh,
can you can you can
90%.
you can click on it all times and see how I'm positioned. Not, I
Oh,
don't think
wow.
anyone else does that. But you know, I mean, it brings in criticism, but it does force me to think about what I'm doing.
So you entered ETH at 1500. Did you get out at break even, or what did you do
Yeah,
exactly?
I mean, I just got out at like, I think I took like a $20 loss or something per ETH on like 8 ETH, but then I took like a decent couple of $100 profit on Bitcoin that I entered lower. I mean, it's all like a wash.
And what was the ultimate decision or deciding factor that made you get out of curiosity?
Ultimate? Dude, there's like a whole 7 days this week.
Yeah, earnings are going to be interesting.
That was a joke, by the way. So, I mean, I think for me, the issue with being long here, long spot, is it really does smell a lot like a bear market rally. Even if it isn't, I don't really see this as value on especially Ethereum, which is what I really want to get into. Bitcoin, it's actually better value. That's why I'm holding some Bitcoin. But Ethereum, you know, pumped so much. It's just got a lot of meat on the bone to come back down. If it does hyper pump into the merge and never comes back, it's possible, but you know, that, as I said, that situation does seem increasingly unlikely with what we're hearing from the macro people. I think the difficult decision for me will be if we do pull back, you know, and it's like, well, probably 1600 is not value, but what if you get a pullback to 1100? You're like, no, I'm not interested, and then that's the higher low. And I'm not really 100% sure about that because you know, the lower it gets, the more you really have to trust this macro. And you know, in fact, this space has made me more bullish because every single person I've heard in this space is cashed up and 100% sure that we're going to have economic Armageddon and that it's going to be really obvious when the bottom is. I mean, like, just think about what happens in a market when that's the view of all the participants. And then maybe the economic Armageddon doesn't arrive, right? What's that market going to do? Now, I do think that the kind of macro specialists are probably not wrong about some turbulence around, you know, earnings and stuff. But, you know, is that like where you basically buy the pullback rather than panic? And I'm going to have to think about that a bit more.
Market might really just rally a bad earnings report too, or it might just outperform our expectations. Like you cannot predict. Like honestly, you cannot predict the news half the time.
I will agree with you, Naka. My biggest concern is how many people that I know that are bullish crypto that are in cash. And this was the same
Yeah.
situation in when COVID hit. I had the same set of friends that are all super long-term bulls, and they all had this huge cash position, and they had no crypto. And I'm like, this has got to be a time to go long when all my friends that are not in, that are
Yeah.
interested, are not in. So ultimately, that was a good buying opportunity. The problem
Yeah.
is, this is like a potentially multi-year bear market for equities, and we've nowhere near had any kind of capitulation in equities. I think what happened in crypto was basically almost like a preview of what could happen in a major crisis. So it's really important for us to realize like what happens in a major crisis like that is no bid side on the liquidity on the order books, and you just get an all-out panic and you start to get major contagion risk. And like the thing with crypto is it doesn't have as much leverage in it as TradFi. So when this shit goes down in TradFi, I mean the amount of unwinding that can happen because of all these complex derivatives and shit there's just no saying. There's way more potential for contagion.
Yeah.
Crypto was already wrecked down over 50%. People were not even long